I just love the idea of a small, easy to carry, cheap, sturdy camera. Something that can be with you all the time. I bought this DJI OSMO, which is quite light what comes out of this camera, but it's a bit of a hoax really. It's not exactly what it promises to be. One of the biggest reasons a lot of people buy action camera is that these are accessible products. It's pretty cheap, affordable. So you can buy an action camera for about $400 today, or about 30,000 rupees in India. And the thing is that it's not as cheap as people think it is. Let me explain why. Now this is more or less the same setting, the same time of the day, the same angle, the same way the sun is hitting my face. It has changed, except that I have taken the ND filter off. I have been using this Polar Pro ND16. Without it, you can't really use this camera during the day, not during this when the sun is up. So anytime between 10 a.m. in the morning to, let's say, around 4 o'clock in the evening, it's very difficult to shoot with an action camera. It is practically useless during the day if you do not have an ND filter. And that ND filter costs you something, another $200, or about 15 to 20,000 rupees in India, to buy an ND filter. Now that's not cheap. You're saying that if you have bought this camera, if you want to use it anytime between 10 a.m. in the morning to 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon or in the evening, it's practically impossible to shoot with this without an ND filter. And so that is not a separate cost. That is not an additional expenditure. It is a basic expenditure that you have to be okay with paying the moment you think of buying an action camera, because otherwise you can only shoot during twilight or very early in the morning. Now I spoke about twilight and very early in the morning. What happens when it's a bit dark, when it's just about the sun has just set, the evening has, it's dark outside? Can you use the camera? The ISO is already at its highest at 3200. The color looks shit. It looks really bad with the street light. There's not much light here, of course. And if you put it in auto mode, it suggests you a shutter speed of 25, which is I can't use that on my timeline. I'll show this footage after some exposure correction as well, so that you can see how much you can recover. This is how it looks with a few lamps on from that house, and there's one street light here. But the point is, if I was to use my X-T3 here, I could actually increase the ISO and do something about that. Well, to be honest, this looks pretty alright. So if you're probably in a mall or something like a place like that, this is still better than how it looked out on the streets with a few street lights on. So that's my whole issue with action cameras. However, I think that action cameras can be better. I really think that the sensor could be better, slightly bigger. I think the low ISO range can be brought down a bit. At least you wouldn't need to spend extra money on ND filters. The other question is it time for action cameras to have inbuilt ND filters? Because I think that's going to help. Well, even if you are spending about $50 more, I don't know, I'm guessing it shouldn't be more than that. Even if you're spending about $50 more, what you're getting at the end of it is a far more complete thing. And you don't have to carry around another kit. You don't have to have another attachment on your lens like that. What if you lose it, or if you drop it somewhere? What happens is that if you lose one ND16, you have to go for another one, and that is additional cost again, another $200 for that. So I think it's a bit irritating for me, and I think those things should be taken care of, especially when the phones are becoming so much better. The phones are giving such tough fight to the action camera market. I think action cameras can do a lot better just by adding ND filter, having a slightly bigger sensor, slightly bigger dynamic range, and maybe also if you can figure out how to use a lower ISO level than what is available right now.